Today we're going to tie a park shrimp on a tube with a Conehead. So I'm using here a black outer tubing and this is a clear inner tube. I'm going to pass my tying silk up between the two to start it, and then bind the two together. And a lot of people say you don't have to do it. I like to put a little bit of super glue on there for a little bit of extra security. So I'm going to take a strand of Mirage and tie that in here, and this is going to act as both our butt and our rib. So I'm going to wrap on a few turns of it there at the back as a butt, tie it in, fold it back and tie it in again, so it's now hanging back here on our keeper as the rib. So park shrimp generally tied with Arctic Runner or something like that for the tail, but I'm not going to use that this time. I'm going to use Arctic Fox, and here I have sort of the base of a tail, so you notice it's quite stiff, straight hair, and that's going to help with our two bunch bit for the tail. So I've taken out a bit, I'm going to split that and set the other bit up to the side, and I'll take our little bunch, remove the shortest unwanted bits, set that on the top. So you can use Runner at this point if you want, but again I'm going to stick with the Fox, and I'm keeping again one that's quite a stiffish haired fox here. This is a bright yellow, and I'm just looking for a longer portion. I'm going to cut a bit of that out, and this time I'm going to remove the majority of the underfur. I mostly want the guard hairs so that the yellow remains sort of central. And this portion you tie on at least half as long again, maybe even twice as long as your orange portion. That's up to yourself. So at this point I'm going to put in a bit of flash. I'm going to use a crystal hair here, just a pearl crystal hair. Lay a strand in on top and fold it back, so we now have two strands in the tail. Cut the second strand off the same length as the first. You notice I'm not back here at my butt tying in. I'm going to get there now after we tie in this top bunch. So another bunch of our orange Arctic Fox, or Runner if you're using that. Lay that in on top. Bind that down forward, and then holding this tail back, tie back to that butt, and that'll give us that sort of signature park shrimp type tail. Now, body. We're going to use a gold light bright sort of dubbing. This happens to be a holographic one. So dub that onto your thread and take that up halfway or so on the fly. Again, if you want a more gold fly, put more of that on. On the front section I'm going to use a black sort of glistery mixed stuff. This is synthetic black dubbing. So I just spin that onto our tying thread and tie a section of that at the front until we get to this slope of our tube. So now we take this strand of mirage that we had back here and rib the fly with that. Now, mirage, it looks good, but it's not overly strong, so don't be surprised if a tooth cuts that. But unfortunately, it is what it is, but it looks very nice. So we now got to the front, so we're going to put a bit of crystal hair underneath this wing. So I'll put in a couple of strands and then fold that back. Now you can use whatever flash material you want in there. If you want, you could have used the same dubbing sort of stuff as we used for the rear of the body. Made a hank of that and dubbed it in. Whatever flash you want. So now we need a black hair wing. So again, something like Arctic Fox or Temple Dog or something like this. I think this is Temple Dog. It's very soft and easily worked with. We'll take a bunch of that again, take out the short stuff. Usually you'll find there's a curve one way or the other, so I like to have the curve going like this, and I'm going to set that up for length. I don't want it to be the same length as the tail portion. I want it to be a little bit shorter so that when it gets wet it'll sort of meld in with that. I'll hold that in position, place a loop over that. Snip that off and take our super glue, put it on those cut ends, and before it dries bind them down so that you get a slope rather than a block. Right, so now we're going to go with two badger coloured hackles. One is a dyed yellow and the next one will be a dyed orange. So take the yellow one. I'm going to double that. Doubling hackles is covered in a techniques video if you want to search for that. Snip it off. Tie it in by the tip and fold it back. Tie over it a couple of turns and forward. And then we're going to wrap on a couple or so turns of our yellow hackle and tie it off. Now you're on a slopey bit, so it does help to get some wax on. And next we're going to add a couple of jungle cock. So I have a pair of jungle cock feathers here. Some people like them very long and more prominent, others less. Match them up for length. Tie them in. Trim those off. Run the super glue on our tying thread and bind over those cut ends, and once it starts to catch you can bind a little bit back on them and that'll stop those from pulling out. Now you could have changed your ordering here, but in general I think this is the way this one is tied, where the jungle cock is in between, sandwiched between two hackles. If you want your jungle cock more hidden, put it in first and put your two hackles in front of it, and if you want your jungle cock full in view, put on your two hackles first and then your jungle cock. So we now have an orange badger hackle. Nick that, tie it into the tip, hold it back, let it wrap on. A couple of turns of that. Now with cone heads, it always helps if you can get a turn or so of hackle directly onto inner tube there. That is the tying of the fly done. All we need now is to finish the head end of it. So pull back those hackles, some super glue on the thread, wrap over that, half hitch into the super glue. Now I always cut this leaving about 4 or 5 mil. You'll not see it in the hackles, and it'll prevent that from, if you cut up very tight, sometimes that can come out. So, finish the fly, we're going to put a gold cone head on it. So I'm going to add another bit of super glue there, and then push a gold cone tight back onto that. That'll sort of bury into the bit that we glued. Pull that off. Cut it off, leaving a couple of mil or so. That depends on how tight of a fit your tubing is to your cone. The tighter the fit, the less you're going to need to leave to create the burr here. Blow that, and then I'll take a needle and just pass it in, just to make sure that the hole is patent. And that is our park shrimp conehead tube.